Okay, so we had another question, and this is about student using an iPad in class when the staff are not next to them, they're going on YouTube and other websites and not focusing on them talking or the lesson. And the function is likely attention from the peers and the staff, and they're also working for points right now. They don't have the staff to watch the student at all times. It's funny, my first suggestion was limit the internet, but then you added you can't limit the internet because it messes with the YouTube lessons. That would be my first thing. It's just like, why do they have access to YouTube? But I understand it's part of the lesson, totally. So then a couple things. If the function is attention and they're working for points, are they earning attention with those points? Like, is there some way to channel that attention so that you can make it contingent? Like maybe once they've earned their points, instead of giving them like, a toy, they get to come to the front of the room and like show everyone a YouTube video or show everyone a joke or do something if they're motivated by attention. So I guess the question is what are they working for? What are their reinforcers? And do you have like, accurate preference assessments so that they can work for that thing that's motivating? That'd be the first thing. What about you?
Thanks. Put me on the spot here. This happens a lot, especially if you're teaching students online as well, right? You have no idea what device is in their hand. You could be trying to do some lesson and they're off task because they're watching YouTube or they're doing something else, period. The function's probably not attention at that point. The function is just, listen, like I really enjoy this, and it's a competing motivator. If there's a way to block certain sites, I'm not sure if you can do that, or guided access. So on the iPad, if you press the home button 3 times, and I think you've got to write in a code, you can do guided access as well, and that would help keep him on that iPad or on that specific lesson that you're working on.
Yeah, so those are good options. The other thing is depending on their, functioning level, if you wanted to do something like an assessment tracker where like they give a report and the teacher gives a report and they get rewarded for more like being honest. Like, did you use YouTube during your lesson, or were you attending during your lesson? And the teacher gives their version and they give their version. So, and then the reinforcement is not for not being on YouTube, but it's just for, honesty. And then that could be shaped into reinforcement for not being on YouTube when they're not supposed to be.
So that's self-monitoring or self-management, right? So if you're using something like a self-management, or like I can talk about behavior contracts. So here's your behavior contract, or here's your point system, and you get points for not engaging in this behavior. Let's do a behavior contract. And if you're honest, if you filled it in and the teachers filled it in and you're honest, your reports are the same, then that's what the reinforcement's for. Then, hey, great job, you were honest, you reported it accurately, here's the reinforcement. And then once the student's able to report accurately, then you start changing the criteria so that it's actually, I've got to be off YouTube to get this. But again, those competing reinforcers, right? So the lesson might be boring, so they're, they're on the YouTube, or the points aren't motivating enough. So is there something they can work for that the points would be more motivating, period?
I love the guided access one.
Can you, have the teacher redirect in a way that she or he is not giving attention, right? So maybe just take the iPad away without verbalizing anything or something along that lines as well. But I like the guided access one too. Kind of biased. It's my idea.
I do that on my phone. Right. As you're talking, I'm like, I do that. When something gets boring, I just kind of look at something else to scroll.
So funny.
So I need my own guided access program.
So funny. Just as an aside, a fun game, if you talk about access to attention, I have a student in the classroom. I'm totally going off topic right now. But I have a student in a classroom right now who is loves teacher attention, loves teacher attention in any way, negative attention, etc. He's on a point system, and we've just brought in that he can work for interactive games with another student because the teacher's not always available. So instead what he's doing is, he's got those plexiglass barriers on the desk. I don't know if anybody else has those right now, but we've brought in whiteboard markers and they're playing tic-tac-toe with another peer on each side of the barrier. And then we've got some other sticker type things that we're moving around on there too. And it's super cool that we just turn the barrier into a game.
That's good.
But getting creative that way.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere. What do you mean? So your question is...
going back from the question, talking about exchanges points.
Yeah, exchanges points for toys. So maybe they could exchange points for YouTube or or for something more like that gets them that attention function, they do have to use the iPad the whole time. What do you mean by assessment trackers? Did we say that?
You mentioned assessment tracker. I thought you did.
I don't think.
Oh, okay. I thought you said there was some type of assessment tracker that you suggested for something. I think it was more guided access that we were talking about on the iPad.
Yeah.
Ask if the guided access is possible. All lessons are on the iPad. Mom doesn't want more iPad time. Yes, it's not really about more iPad time. Like the points don't need to equal more iPad time. The points could equal some type of attention. Like if he's doing this for attention from other peers, then if there's, he cashes in his points and instead of playing with a toy, he can play with a toy with a peer, or he can do something with a peer, period, so that he's getting that attention then contingent upon engaging in positive behavior.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I was talking about like tracking the point system. Like if you do how even a partial interval recording, how many intervals were they attending and on task, and you each do a report, that you each assess, meaning like the teacher and the student, similar to Shane explained, and then just compare to see if they are accurate.